Alright, Ronan MMA, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be my full event recap for UFC Singapore. Max Holloway versus the Korean Zombie. We're going to get to every single fight of the night, starting with the early prelim opener, working our way up. I did very well on picks. On this card, I went 12-1. Not just 12-1, but I also picked, there was a few underdogs in the mix there, and also the method of how they would win. I got quite a few of those right, so before we get into it, like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. But we're going to start with the first fight of the night right away, which was Seungwoo Choi versus Jarno Aarons. I picked Jarno Aarons to win. This was the only fight that I got wrong. I thought that he would be able to, hurt Seungwoo Choi, and he did at one point, but I thought he would be able to get the finish because Seungwoo Choi, on a losing streak since he's been in the UFC, has not been very successful. He's has a losing record still, even after this victory, so I just thought that he had taken a little bit too much damage, whereas Jarno Aarons is younger, taken less damage, and even fought stiffer competition pre-UFC, which is how Seungwoo Choi's record got to be so bad. Right before this fight, it was 10-6. Now it's 11-6, but he was 7-1 when he entered the UFC. So then you see him go 5-8 or something along those lines, and I just didn't think he was going to be able to get the job done. He hurt Jarno Aarons with leg kicks, and they both knocked each other down. It was a good fight, but Seungwoo Choi outstruck him by quite a bit on totals, and a pretty decent margin on significant strikes. So good performance by Seungwoo Choi, and yeah, anyways, moving up the card too. Liang Na versus JJ Aldrich. Now, I said I wasn't very confident in this pick for a good reason, dude. It's JJ Aldrich, okay, but and she lost the first round also. When she fights, she's just not, there's no like explosiveness or athleticism or urgency or anything. There's no, I don't know. It's just weird watching her. She's almost in slow motion, but she was able to get the finish late in the second round. I think there was 11 seconds left or something like that. She got on top and was ground and pounding elbows, just wouldn't stop throwing until the ref finally stopped it. Liang Na did like absolutely nothing to try and get back to her feet, especially towards the end of that round where she was just kind of laying there letting JJ Aldrich smash her with ground and pound. And even though they're women and JJ Aldrich doesn't hit all that hard and a lot of them aren't getting through cleanly, you still have to defend yourself. So good performance by JJ Aldrich. I did not think she would get the finish. I didn't say a method or anything like that, but if there was a way, I would have thought she would have won. It probably would have been by decision because she's not the type of lady that I picture getting TKOs. But either way, dude, moving up the card to Billy Joff versus Yusaka Kinoshita. I picked Billy Joff. I even said that he would clip him and get him out of there because Yusaka Kinoshita, in my opinion, is one of these guys who had a bit of a padded record pre-UFC, fighting guys who are very unexperienced or have losing records, whereas Billy Joff has fought in, organizations like Bellator. He's held belts in smaller organizations fighting good guys, and Yusaka Kinoshita had a decent performance on his Contender Series fight, but then immediately following got finished in the first round by Adam Fugit, who is not like a first round. You're not supposed to get finished by Adam Fugit in the first round, you know what I mean? Like, he's good, but he's not an absolute destroyer. And so I just thought that was maybe an indication he wasn't actually ready for UFC level competition. Now, I'm sure they could find some guys, way down the rankings that they could match him up against, but that's two now first round finishes in a row against him. Okay, and he looked phenomenal before getting into the UFC, so it just shows you that it is a pretty big step up in competition, and if you've padded your record, it's not always going to go your way. But yeah, good performance by Billy Joff, first round finish. I mean, can't get much better than that. Moving up the card too, Song KENAN versus Rolando Bedoya. All right, I said that I wasn't sure if Song KENAN could finish him because Rolando Bedoya is tough. He's got a chin. He got a unanimous decision. I said that I thought he would hurt him enough within the rounds to steal the rounds and get a decision, and I picked Song KENAN ultimately because he fucking dropped and almost finished Ian Gary, okay, which is just insane to think about. But it was a good performance by him overall. Rolando Bedoya, just, I don't know, he didn't look all that good. But he did take the first round. After that, Song KENAN took over. Now, the second round is a little iffy. Because Rolando Bedoya actually did outstrike him quite a bit, apparently, as I'm looking at the stats just now. But they still gave round number 2 to Song KENAN, so maybe he was just landing the harder shots. I would have to go back and rewatch it. I can't remember. I don't think I had a problem with the decision when it was read, although I did pick for Song KENAN, so I could just be biased, but either way, dude. Moving up the card to Chidi NJOKUANI versus Michael OLEKSIEJCZUK. I picked Michael OLEKSIEJCZUK. I said that somebody was going to get knocked out because both of these guys usually finish their opponents when they do win. But I said that Chidi NJOKUANI, unlike Michael OLEKSIEJCZUK, has been knocked out a handful of times. So if there was a guy whose chin I could trust more, I would pick Michael OLEKSIEJCZUK. Also, Michael OLEKSIEJCZUK has very good technical striking. He looked good in the first round against Barrio, and I just thought that he was better. And that was correct. He got the first round knockout. Okay, so good performance by Michael OLEKSIEJCZUK. Chidi NJOKUANI, I think he's been knocked out like 5 times now in the UFC. I can't remember off the top of my head, but not great. His chin does not seem to be all that there. Anyways, moving up the card too. Toshiomi Kazama versus Garrett Armfield. I almost picked Toshiomi Kazama, Jesus fucking Christ. But I ended up picking Garrett Armfield because while Kazama has a ton of submissions on his record and Garrett Armfield actually has been submitted a couple of times, there's moments on Kazama's record where you can tell, even just by reading the method of knockout, that it was him trying to, like a flying knee against a guy who was 2-2. A guy with a 2-2 record knocked him out with a flying knee, which was most likely off of a bad entry because he really wants to get you to the ground. There was a couple other on his record that were like that, and I thought that he would get clipped early on trying to make an entry or something along those lines. Now, he got finished in the first round, and it is what it is, dude. I'm glad that I picked Garrett Armfield because I almost picked Toshiomi Kazama just because I don't know how good Garrett Armfield would have been once they hit the mat. I think had they hit the mat, he might have been able to actually submit him, but he went 0 of 2 on his takedowns, pardon me. So good performance by Garrett Armfield getting the KO there. I said I thought he would be able to clip him and finish him off, and he did just that. Moving up to card 2, Waldo CORTEZ-ACOSTA versus Lucas BRZESKI. I said I'm not picking Lucas BRZESKI. The guy has yet to get a W inside the UFC. He's gotten a no contest and now 3 losses. I did say, however, that Waldo CORTEZ-ACOSTA doesn't know what to do about leg kicks, so I was a little concerned in that regard, and I didn't think that Waldo CORTEZ-ACOSTA would be able to get the finish because since being in the UFC, I don't think he's gotten a finish. I think this might have been his first finish in the UFC. And from a guy who is like a professional boxer, big heavyweight dude, you'd think he would be flatlining dudes left and right, and he did just that. Now, the back of the head shot was a little bit iffy. However, Lucas BRZESKI, okay, I'm going to, it was shitty that it kind of landed to the back of the head, but at the same time, Lucas BRZESKI's actively running away from him while stumbling all over the place on fucking Kevin Lee Bambi legs, and, all it would have taken for a shot going to the side of the head to hit the back of the head on BRZESKI was for him to move like an inch, and he was moving like crazy, running away the entire time, and I think he was on his way to fucking face planting regardless, so I'm not going to hold that one against him. You could tell that because the first punch the punch right before that he landed was to the side of the head. That one that did eventually make him faceplant was a little more to the back. Now it was kind of like diagonal-ish, not totally fully back of the head, not like a Cyril Gane versus Tai Tuivasa type shit, more like a Cyril Gane versus Junior Dos Santos type shit. But I think that was going to happen regardless, and it is what it is, man. Good performance by Waldo CORTEZ-ACOSTA. Insane. Anyways, moving up to card 2. Junior TAFA versus Parker Porter. Dude, I picked Junior TAFA at the last second in my video. In my notes, I had Parker Porter because last time I picked against him and he went out there and won, and I can't doubt the GOAT. But I did. At the last second, I said I was going to pick Junior TAFA. I thought that Parker Porter was going to try and initiate the same game plan as Muhammad Usman, but I didn't think he'd be able to get the takedowns because he's not as athletic, not as explosive. He tried to get a couple takedowns, I think 2, and he was 0 of 2, or maybe it was just 0 of 1, but regardless, he was unable to get the takedown on Junior TAFA, who showed he was very urgent to get himself out of that situation, and ended up hurting him on the feet just like I said he would and finishing him off. So I got that one correct. Also, I even said that he would knock out Parker Porter, the absolute GOAT. And while it was sad to see a guy as talented, as athletic, as, aesthetically pleasing as Parker Porter get KO'd like that, I was glad that I got my pick right, so it is what it is. Moving up the card too, Aaron BLANCHFIELD versus Tyler Santos. Okay, dude. This fight was not as exciting as I thought it was going to be. I thought there was going to be a lot. I thought it was going to be a lot more action-packed. I thought that Erin Blanchfield would actually be able to get a takedown and be able to do some damage with that takedown. Now, that wasn't the case. She outstruck her by a good margin on total strikes, but the significant strikes were a lot closer. And she was unable to get a single fucking takedown. 0 of 14. Okay? That's not great. Because now I don't know how what is she going to do? So if Alexa Grasso loses to Valentina Shevchenko and they decide that they're not going to do a trilogy, I don't know what she's going to be able to do against Valentina Shevchenko, because in the opening minutes of this fight, she was getting tagged up on the feet. And it says that she landed more total strikes in round 1 and even more significant strikes, but I feel like that was from her pushing Taila Santos up against the cage, because from what I can remember at distance, Taila Santos would made her bleed real early. Was tagging her pretty consistently. And I think she dropped her at one moment, or almost dropped her. Neither of them were credited a knockdown, but maybe it was just kind of like a flash knockdown. I can't remember all that perfectly, but I thought Erin Blanchfield was going to be a lot more dominant, and seeing her go 0 of 14 on takedowns is not ideal for me, knowing that she could be matched up against either Alexa Grasso or Valentina Shevchenko, for that matter, either one of them, because Alexa Grasso showed that she's able to be defensively sound on bottom. Valentina wasn't able to get off a whole lot of damage when she had to resort to taking her down, because Alexa Grasso was kind of piecing her up on the feet with the jab and the boxing, right? Erin Blanchfield's striking is not that good. Now, against Jessica Andrade, who's throwing wild, just caution to the wind, huge overhand rights, it looked a lot more clean than that. But against Taila Santos, in my opinion, it didn't look all that great. So while it was a good performance, and Taila Santos is a very tough girl to get a win over, so it's a big win. It wasn't all that impressive to me. And I know that Taila Santos gave Valentina Shevchenko quite a bit of problems, but it's just, I don't know, man. I don't know. I thought that Blanchfield was going to be able to do a little bit more. I said that she wouldn't finish. I literally said Erin Blanchfield by unanimous decision, because I didn't think she'd be able to put Taila Santos away, but I didn't think that Taila Santos would be able to put her away. And I thought that Blanchfield would get takedowns, do damage during the rounds to steal those rounds. She was able to push her up against the clinch and, steal the rounds that way, but I don't know. I would have to go back and rewatch it. I feel like I'm being a little critical right now, but I remember, especially in those opening few minutes, I thought her striking does not look very good right now, and she just got tagged a bunch of times. And if you're going to look like that at range against Valentina Shevchenko, it's not going to be ideal. And even Alexa Grasso, for that matter, who has cleaner hands than Valentina Shevchenko. So she needs to work on that a little bit, I think. But I might just be, being a little hypercritical. But either way, dude, I was very high on Erin Blanchfield going into this, so maybe she just didn't exceed my expectations, and whatever. Either way, dude. Moving up the card, too. Rinya Nakamura versus Fernie Garcia. I thought Nakamura would get a finish, but he didn't. I said Fernie Garcia was going to be tough to put away, but he was very tough. He took a lot of damage, and he just couldn't... Rinya Nakamura could essentially take him down whenever he wanted to and then do whatever he wanted. Now, that was a little bit of an underwhelming performance, if I'm being honest, just because of the amount of hype that Rinya Nakamura had on him. I did say get the nod by decision or catch him good enough to get a KO or a TKO. He essentially implemented a takedown heavy game plan, 4 of 4 with 3 submission attempts. The arm bars were crazy. Fernie Garcia's tough as nails, and also to remain calm in those positions so that you don't immediately just tap right away, right? They have your arm fully extended, and instead of just freaking out and tapping because you think it's going to break at any moment, he's constantly trying to turn it over so he doesn't have that same level of leverage. And it was a fun fight, I guess. Kind of fun, but either way. The total strike numbers were a lot closer. The significant strikes, not so much, but, it was a mostly ground. And once Rinya Nakamura was able to get him to the ground, he had literally nothing for him. But it is what it is. Anyways, moving up the card to Giga Chikadze versus Alex Caceres. Now, there's 2 controversial decisions, we have to talk about in a row. I kind of called this one perfectly if you don't think that it was a robbery, because I didn't think Giga Chikadze would finish Alex Caceres. I thought that Alex Caceres was going to be a little too elusive, and he wasn't just going to stand there with his feet planted while Giga Chikadze loads up on giant kicks. And do you know what I mean? Like, that's not going to work moving forward. I was once upon a time very high on Giga Chikadze. I think Calvin Kattar exposed the fuck out of him, and considering this fight was this close against Alex Caceres, who in my opinion will never break the top 5, with all due respect, he's had a very long career. He's beaten some good guys. He's lost against some better guys. I just don't ever view him as being top 5. And Giga Chikadze looked all right against him. Do you know what I mean? So the total strike number, this was such a close fight, man. The total strike numbers were 65 to 62. And it was the same for significant strikes, which means every single strike that these two threw were counted as significant. Round 1, Giga outlanded him by 2. Round 2, Caceres outlanded him by 1. And round 3, Giga outlanded him by 2. Super fucking close. But I did say I don't think Giga Chikadze is going to be able to finish him. Alex Caceres, while he's been looking good up until this point, winning through 3 in a row for him is too good to be true, because there's only been twice in his entire UFC career, which stretches back 12 years, where he's ever gone on a win streak that was 3 or more, and he had won 2 in a row before this fight. So I just didn't think he'd be able to get it done. He's a little inconsistent, man. But it is what it is. I guess we can kind of give Chikadze a little bit of slack, because it was a pretty decently sized layoff, and Calvin Kattar beat the ever-living fuck out of him. But I will say this, dude. Considering the performance was what it was, Giga Chikadze going crazy on the mic like that, asking for a pay-per-view slot, was fucking wild to me, dude. Like, who are they going to put you up against on a pay-per-view slot where we don't just watch you get the ever-living fuck beaten out of you? Do you know what I mean? Like, I once thought this dude was going to, I don't know, I didn't think he'd be champion, but I thought he would get very high up there in the rankings. And Calvin Kattar, while Calvin Kattar is very good, we've seen him get schooled by, like, the elite in that division. So if you're not going to get past a Calvin Kattar, who else in that kind of top 5 spot are you going to be able to get past? You know what I mean? But good for him coming back and getting a win after such a big layoff and such a horrible beating that he took before that layoff. And it was a very close fight. I don't think that it was a robbery. I mean, he outstruck him in 2 of the 3 rounds. It's not that simple usually, obviously, but just based off the numbers, it was a very close fight either way. So anyways, moving up the card, 2, Anthony Smith versus Ryan Spann. All right, so I picked Anthony Smith to win. I thought it would look a little more like the first fight, because I don't think Ryan Spann's all that good. However, he is with a pretty good coach now. Okay, so I don't want to hear him say that he's not fucking training, or I'll lose my shit. Okay, Ryan Spann thought he won. When I was watching the fight, so full disclosure, I was in a vehicle at fucking 4 o'clock in the morning heading from here to Vancouver, 500 kilometers. So I didn't watch these until later on in the day. I stayed off of social media because I didn't want to be biased in what I was watching, obviously. And I also didn't want to spoil it for myself, because I wanted to see how well I did on my picks. And when I watched that fight, I didn't see a robbery. And then I went online, and I was quite surprised, reading the comment sections, that a lot of people seemed to think there was a robbery. And even as the decision was being read, Ryan Spann was thought that he had won, thought there was a robbery, right? And I just didn't think so. But we'll go over it. Round 1, I felt as though Anthony Smith won that first round. I thought that he was landing good shots. He absolutely outlanded Ryan Spann by quite a bit. Ryan Spann wasn't able to do a whole lot with him. I think he hurt Smith maybe at one point, maybe wobbled him or something along those lines. But I mean, dude, Anthony Smith got a takedown, which we're not going to count because this was largely a significant striking round. And if we go based off of significant strikes alone, Anthony Smith landed 24, which was 57% of the shots that he threw. So it's a pretty good clip that he's landing at. And Ryan Spann went 10. He landed 10, 24%. I mean, Jesus Christ, dude, what the fuck? Like, what other round? And so I guess Ryan Spann's thinking that he took rounds 2 and 3, which we will get to. Now, round 2 is unquestionable Ryan Spann. The striking numbers are extremely close, 22 to 25, and Ryan Spann landed at a way less clip, 39%. Still, Anthony Smith was making a miss. Dude, I just said that like Mike Tyson. Miss quite a bit. 22 to 22 on significant strikes, okay? But the problem is that Anthony Smith got hurt. He fucking... Glover broke one eye, Ryan Spann breaks the other. So, he... Based on damage, right? Striking numbers are equal, but Ryan Spann clearly did more damage in that round than Anthony Smith. So I gave Ryan Spann round 2, clearly. But even that, dude, considering that was the deciding factor, that Anthony Smith's eye got fucked up. I don't know if it was a broken orbital or if anything's confirmed or what, but the striking numbers were so fucking close that the only reason he won that round was because of how badly damaged Anthony Smith's eye got. Moving to the third round, Anthony Smith almost doubled him up on strikes. 45 to 27. And that's significant and total, same number. He was just leg kicking him constantly. What I found fucking insane, dude. I want to look at the numbers by target. Ryan Spann might have the lowest fight IQ of all fucking time. We just watched Johnny Walker, okay, fuck Anthony Smith's leg up in their fight. We just watched Anthony Smith get injured against Magomed Ankalaev, where Magomed Ankalaev was fucking Anthony Smith's legs up, right? We just saw he has no leg kick defense whatsoever, right? In that Johnny Walker fight. Ryan Spann landed 6 fucking leg kicks. This is why I picked against him. The guy is not smart in my opinion. 66% of his shots to the head. Anthony Smith is not an easy guy to just flatline KO, bro. And after the first 3 minutes, you're not as powerful as you were. You know what I mean? He's kind of a fucking front runner. Now, I know his best round was round 2, but it wasn't like he fucking flatlined Anthony Smith, man. Like, Anthony Smith landed 35 leg kicks to Ryan Spann's 6. What are we doing? What, you have a guy who has a glaring, gaping hole that everybody can see, that he's admitted to himself on the podcast that he talks in interviews. He's admitted himself. Yeah, I fucking suck at defending leg kicks. And you land 6. And you had 15 minutes. Like, you were landing at a horrible clip to the head, my guy. Start chopping down the legs. He's not going to be able to move away from your headshots as much. I thought the third round was easy to score, man. Now, if some of you had it for Ryan Spann, I'm not here to, like, shit on you or argue with you, because I could understand if you think that Ryan Spann landed the bigger shots, but I just don't think so, man. I think a lot of them went off gloves. And I think that Anthony Smith, perhaps something that to take into consideration is like he was flinching quite a bit. So maybe the optics weren't so great when Ryan Spann would throw a shot because his eye was so fucked. He would kind of like flail around like an inflatable arm flailing tube, man. But Ryan Spann clearly didn't land half as many, or almost half as many. So, you know, I didn't see a robbery, but a lot of people were freaking out calling robbery. I thought it was a relatively close fight, but I thought Anthony Smith clearly took 1, and I thought that he kind of clearly took 3. I thought he was landing the cleaner shots, if anything. It's just that maybe optically it didn't look the best, especially since Anthony Smith's eye was already fucked from round 2. But the problem is you can't look at that damage and score that for round 3. That damage was from round 2, and he didn't really land to that eye again cleanly. Otherwise, the fight might have been fucking over, because that shit would have closed up. I mean, Anthony Smith's eye was a mess. And credit to him for powering through that, man. I know I did a video kind of shitting on him leading up to this, but I ultimately did pick in favor of Anthony Smith, and I was correct, and I don't know that there was a robbery there. Although I did think he was going to get a finish, because I thought the fight wasn't that long ago. Ryan Spann's not that good, and he's always got excuses. So I just thought, you know, Anthony Smith was going to show him up again and strangle him on the ground or something like that, but that wasn't the case. Close fight-ish, I guess, kind of. Split decision. Let me know what you guys think about this one, actually. I want to know how many of you guys scored it and which way. And I know that we've got a lot of people in here that don't like Anthony Smith, so try to be unbiased when you do so. I've already said I don't really like Anthony Smith. I did a video making fun of him. I do respect him because he didn't take the belt against John Jones, but I want to know how you guys scored that fight. I didn't think Ryan Spann won that fight, and I wasn't sure why he was acting like he got fucking robbed at the end of it. It reminds me of Angela Hill, dude. It's so annoying. Like, don't let a dude land 50 fucking significant strikes on your face and legs in a single round and then wonder why you lose. Do you know what I mean? But anyways, moving up the card to the main event. Max Holloway versus Chan Sung Jung. Dude, Chan Sung Jung went, fuck it, I'ma die tonight. He went out on a shield. Absolutely savage. Absolutely savage. I think he realized after those first 2 rounds that there was nothing he was going to do to Max Holloway that was going to, you know what I mean? And the commentators, in my opinion, were kind of dick riding the Korean Zombie for a little bit there. There was a moment in the first round where he hit Max Holloway with a good shot, and Max Holloway looked a little off balance and kind of backed up towards the fence. And Michael Bisping, his annoying ass, is screaming that he's fucking rocked. Whereas Zombie comes in to try and land a bigger follow-up shot, and Max Holloway clipped him with a clean, I think it was a left hook, little check left hook. And the Zombie wobbled way worse than Holloway wobbled, looked way more rocked than Holloway looked rocked, and they didn't say a goddamn word about it. But that was a great performance by Max Holloway, man. I'll tell you this. I said that I thought he would get a late round finish, or later round finish. I thought round 4, round 5. I said similar to Volk, maybe, where, you know, maybe not in between rounds per se, but just after seeing Zombie take so much damage, they might call it off early in one of the later rounds. We were 23 seconds into round number 3, so we weren't even halfway through the fight. And I feel like Zombie realized, I'm not going to be able to do anything to this guy, because the first round he got outstruck by more than double. Second round was even worse, or it was about the same, more than double. Holloway had that dart. He jumped on that dart fucking fast, dude. And he got a knockdown with a right hand that I didn't even see at the time, because Holloway's counters, fucking Saturday, whatever, were clean, dude. They were clean. The second round, when he dropped him, I was like, wait, what the fuck was that? And it was a right hand, clipped him behind the ear. It was a good shot. And then round 3, I think Korean Zombie realized, like, I'm getting doubled up every round. I'm getting completely pieced up. And I'm going to go out there and just see what happens, man. Just, you know, live by the sword, die by the sword. Either I'm going to get him or he's going to get me. And all I'm going to say, dude, is keep Ilia Topuria the fuck away from Max Holloway. You know what? Because otherwise we will have no contenders left at featherweight. Every single time Max Holloway goes out and does some shit like this, it reminds us of how amazing Volkanovski is. And I'm not trying to take away from Holloway's performance here and just talk about Volkanovski, but I mean, Jesus Christ, dude, everybody else in the fucking division, Holloway just schools. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's amazing. And since fucking when does Max Holloway have one-punch KO power? Now, I know Korean Zombie in his last couple fights has taken a ton of damage, so that might have something to do with it. The Brian Ortega fight, the Alexander Volkanovski fight, even if you go back to the Yair Rodriguez fight, I mean, this guy's been having wars year over year over year. So it could just be an accumulation, but I've never seen Max Holloway just flatline somebody like that. I mean, that was crazy, dude. He face-planted badly. Badly. And, yeah, what a performance by Holloway, dude. That was amazing. And, you know, the way that Holloway handled himself and the victory after the fact, I thought was one of the classiest I've ever seen. Ever. I'm so glad that Chan Sung Jung, the Korean Zombie, got, like, his praise that he deserves. Because, dude, Jamal Hill did something that I thought was pretty fucking cool while this was going on. He, you know, filmed it with his phone and then did an Instagram story, and he said, Brazil, take notes. And I thought that was cool of him, because when Glover Teixeira retired in Brazil, while he was getting the shit beat out of him for 5 rounds by Jamal Hill, the people started leaving the arena. The arena was like essentially fucking empty when Glover was giving his retirement speech, whereas in Singapore, it wasn't even South Korea, dude. It was Singapore. Everybody stayed and, you know, gave the Korean Zombie a huge applause, like, huge. And it was pretty cool to see, man. So, good shit. It was fucking hard to watch, I'll be honest. I mean, that was nasty, dude. I was happy for Max, but at the same time, I was like, oh my god. I will say it made it a little bit better that the Korean Zombie retired immediately after, because I started worrying that because he said, depending on how my performance is against Max is, then I'll decide how or whether or not to retire. And I thought that might be one of the worst ways, because if you can justify to yourself, oh well, I just got caught, then and it was against the the number one guy aside from the champion in the division. Maybe I'm not that, maybe I don't need to retire, but he did, thankfully. And that might be because we've never really seen him get fucking flatlined like that before. Do you know what I mean? Maybe he realized that himself. Like, holy shit, dude. Nobody's done that to me before. And I know for a fact Volk hits fucking Jesus, dude. Volk hits harder than Holloway. Do you know what I mean? So, crazy shit, man. Even when even when the Zombie was going at him like that wild at the beginning of round 3 there, the commentary team were losing their fucking mind. He threw like a gang of punches. Yeah, he landed at an 18% clip. They were acting like every punch he threw landed. And I was watching Holloway slip every single one, block every single one. I think maybe a few landed cleanly, maybe 2, maybe 3. I don't know, but commentary team was dick riding a little bit. Now I understand what the location, who it is, and all that good stuff. But fuck yeah, man, good performance by Max Holloway. I felt bad by the for the Korean Zombie, but it was cool to see Holloway get a finish like that. We've never seen that before. So crazy, man. This was actually a fucking good fight card. It's too bad that it was on at 2 o'clock in the morning here my time. I wasn't able to watch it live, but good card. I did very good on picks, 12-1. Again, as I said, I picked a bunch of methods, a few underdogs thrown in there. I was choked at myself for not betting. I would have made a fuck ton of money, but it is what it is. That's the end of this recap, bro. Like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. I will see you at the next video. Bye-bye.